Can you hear me? Yeah, I
No, yeah.
really appreciate the thing that you're saying because I've been like reading and I'm a parent coach myself, so I've been in this round for many years and I feel like everything you're saying is exactly what's missing in this field. Like I
We're not licensed. Parenting needs to be, we need to be licensed before we
Yeah.
become parent or
Oh my
become a
gosh.
teenager
agree.
mother. Why would I should have, taken this class like 5 years ago, so I'm more prepared.
So I'm super excited because I really feel like this is exactly what's missing right now in the field, like in our society.
Yeah.
And I think this is why there is so much like you're saying, depression,
Yep.
withdrawal. They
Yep.
don't know what to do because their capacities haven't been built, they haven't been challenged.
Mhm.
So I like even I don't think like I have never heard it being put in exactly these words, which like this is the I might have heard these concepts here and there, but not like this. So even this past, I think, couple of weeks, I've been a bit conscious about my own conversations, especially with my daughter. Actually, I feel like my issues are more with my daughter than with my son. But like emphasizing like, aha, like there's a change. I feel that because now instead of me being frustrated about her not wanting to do stuff or feeling not motivated, I am trying to find we don't have this language. It doesn't exist, I feel like, outside of here. So I am super excited. And I really hope that you get to create this community because I would be
Yeah.
really looking forward to connecting with
Oh,
other
yeah.
parents who have similar
It,
issues.
yeah. There are four major themes that we're starting with. And a lot of this has to do with the course that I'm offering on raising a resilient teen. And so the beginning framework is that there are four key areas that are helpful to focus on, and one in particular. And these four areas are the goals of our child, right? For instance, your 16-year-old doesn't see the goal of going to school as a particularly valuable goal, right? So, but he's probably involved in a lot of other things that excite him and motivate him. So he has other goals. So the first thing are the goals. The second are the capacities, the talents and the abilities of our child. It's like a mine that has gems in it, right? We're born with these wonderful gifts inside us, but we might not know we have them. And when you're a teen, you might not think you have any gems, right? You don't have any talents or abilities. So a big part of adolescence is bringing these out so that you can see, oh, I do have this ability. And as we refine these capacities, these talents, we into competencies where we have a sense of agency, that we're good at something, that builds our confidence. I use my hands to kind of illustrate that there's a goal that we might have and our sense of capacity. And if the goal feels too hard to reach, I I won't be motivated. But if my sense of capacity is too low, I also won't feel motivated, because motivation is the distance between a goal and capacity, right? So if I don't value that goal, or if it seems too out of reach, I won't have motivation. Or if I don't feel I have competence, then I also won't be motivated. I might like the goal, I just don't think I can do it, right? I bring this up because a big part of what we're talking about with raising a teen, what people usually come to me for, is they say, I can't get my teen to clean their room or go to school or do their homework, or they're so mean to their sister. They're not motivated to do the things that we think they should do. And it's because there's a distance it's either they don't see and you said it, your son doesn't see the value of school, so he doesn't value it, or the distance between capacity and the goal are too big, right? And one of the tragedies, one of the difficulties that makes the issue urgent for a parent is because even the gifted child, if they don't see value in school, they'll get behind. And now they have the great capacity, but they don't have the competence. And now that sets up another set of problems, doesn't it? So what you put your finger on is unfortunately very, very common, and it is something that needs serious attention. So the fourth area then comes into play. So we talked about goals, capacities that we want to refine into competencies so that we can feel confident. And then the motivation that arises when these two things are lined up correctly. And then all of that happens within the context of a relationship. Now, here's the other big issue that most parents bring to me when they're trying to help their teen. First of all, I think all mothers go to heaven automatically. You just automatically, because you're in an impossible situation all the time, right? You've got this kid who you see all this capacity and they don't see it, or you see that they don't value something that they really should. And what do? If you intervene too much, if you're the drill sergeant, you don't feel that that's who you are, but you don't know how else to get them motivated. So, and then it doesn't work, and then you go back off, and then you don't do anything, and now you feel like you're not doing your job. So the parent is always going through, do I say something? Do I not say something? Do I say? And so that's why all mothers go to heaven, because I think it's a difficult situation to be in. Yeah. So, oh, please.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're not licensed. Parenting needs to be, we need to be licensed before we become parent or become a teenager mother. Why would I should have, taken this class like 5 years ago. So I'm more prepared.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all of us, and that was a story we told too, about how traditional cultures, they've got this all figured out, and so they have tribal supports to make this happen. But I do want to get back to this issue because I know Mia has to go shortly, and it's this point about styles of communication. Now, if I can just make this point before Mia has to run off, and then we
No
can
problem at all.
Okay. And so we talked about practical conversations, emotional conversations, social conversations. Now, Juhig, who wrote this book, he talked about the practical conversations are just helping, like do this, do that, the kind of practical, problem-focused, solution-focused conversations. Then he talks about emotional conversations that the person isn't interested in a solution. They just feel overwhelmed and emotionally out of control, right? Or broken or demoralized, right? And then in that case, he calls this the hug. Yeah, they need a hug. They don't need a solution, or the solution is a hug. And then he talked about the social conversation where the person needs to be heard. They need to feel a part of the whole, a part of the family, a part of their peer group, a part of the world, a part of life, right? And so this is a different kind of conversation. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today was how when a teen really doesn't feel connected to a social entity, or they don't really feel plugged in to the family or to life as a whole, if we're offering if our conversations with them are all focused on practical things they can do, we're not talking to them at the level of that social connectedness, right? So they won't value what we're saying, and so they won't do it, right? So this is one of the things that happens, is how do we create a sense of helping our child feel heard in the context of the relationship of the family or the relationship with you, right? So, and I think that's where it starts. How, and we can talk more about this in the course, but I wanted to just frame it for you so that you might see why things aren't connecting. So this first idea of that, at what level is your teen speaking to you? Now, a common one is where they're very frustrated and overwhelmed emotionally. Something happened at school, or we're asking something of them that they're refusing to do, and we get back, let's say, an angry response, or crying because they feel overwhelmed or put upon, right? So this is a time where you can ask, do you need help with a solution? Do you need a hug, or do you just need me to listen to you for a while? It's not a bad idea to ask those questions. Which one of these three things do you need right now? When kids don't have a sense of competence, right? When their abilities haven't been evoked enough for them to practice gaining competence in whatever it might be, they'll be more prone to regression, to falling back on feeling incompetent and disconnected, not being able to be connected to the family or their peer group because they feel incompetent. So then they quickly revert to feeling hopeless and despairing, and they're caught up in an emotional ball, you could say, where all the solutions you suggest to them, all the solutions in the world won't reach them because they're in an emotional state. So that's a diagnostic observation, in that tells you that what the first issue is the emotionality of how they are, and that what they might need is not you to say anything, but to hug them, right? And then the next thing they might need, once they feel kind of grounded emotionally, is a sense of being connected again, that whatever this situation, it's not terminal. It doesn't mean the end of their social or their ability to be connected. So the next stage is to simply listen, right? That's social conversation. And then the next stage is working out a solution together, right? So there's a sequence that our kids often need, because their sense of incompetence, they'll never say I'm incompetent, but almost always anger or crying, like a despairing cry, usually means I feel incompetent and I don't know how to move to the next step. And that almost always, that's what that means. So all right, now, having said all that, how does that sound?
Makes sense.
Okay.
Makes a lot of sense.
Uh-huh. So the idea is, first, it might be, now, okay, some kids don't want to be hugged, right? So you can say, I just feel that what you just told me, it just breaks my heart. So you just speak in emotional language. You don't have to judge it. You don't have to say how to fix it. You just say, oh my gosh, that it breaks my heart to hear that you're feeling all that. You want a hug, and then maybe they don't, or maybe they're kind of skittish. Then you say, tell me more. I want to hear more. I really want to understand this. And when you say that, you're saying you want to see them. Remember Jerome Kagan, everybody wants their virtues recognized. So you're not trying to fix it. You're trying to see them, right? First, you're acknowledging the emotional state. Then you're saying, please tell me more. You're not putting out information. You're eliciting it. Tell me more about what's going on. Boy, that hits me right in the, how are you doing with that? Are you okay? Tell me about that. So you're eliciting. Then once they feel emotionally stabilized and seen for the virtues that they're trying to, I'm trying to get connected with my friends, but they said these mean things about me. I'm trying to have you and dad see that I'm not a bad person, but I'm not doing a very good job of it, right? So once you kind of see that, now you can have a conversation that's problem oriented or solution oriented. And I think what happens a lot with parents is that what happens is they go right to the solution, And the kid sees that as overwhelming because they don't feel they can, they don't know how. So they actually feel more dejected because you're saying something to them that they feel either that they can't do or that they should have thought of on their own and now they didn't think of it. So, it comes up in the way they respond to us. Oh, you're always telling me that I don't know what I'm doing, right? And you're thinking, I didn't say that, but the kid hears it that way, right? Does this sound familiar?
Very.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you mean like validate their feelings, no matter how off from the reality, so
Well,
they feel being heard or they can able to share.
so here's the dilemma. It's yes and no. So, but I think I'm saying it more to kind of to maybe the insight that I'm trying to focus on is that when we see our kids paralyzed or they're not moving, right? They experience that as stressful also, and they experience that as or as them not being competent, right? And if it's socially they don't feel competent, there's a lot of shame and embarrassment with it. So they won't tell you that because it feels shameful. Or if it has to do with academics and things, I'm going a little bit off track here. But the point being is that oftentimes this resistance that we see is really their way of saying, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know what to do. And we see it as them being stubborn.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's maybe the first thing. And so we can relax a little bit and see it as they're saying, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know what to do. And don't humiliate me, right? Don't shame me, right? So we start with the emotional, maybe they need a hug or maybe a physical thing, right? Then we go to listening, observing. Tell me more about what's going on with you so that I understand. And once that happens, then you can have a problem-solving conversation. Okay. Now, does that make sense? Oh, now
Yeah.
Xiaoji, to go to your point. Now, my take is that what happens in our culture, there is an overindulgence of the emotional part also. So it's a balancing act. On the one hand, you don't want to ignore it, but on the other hand, you don't want to say the whole problem is that they're not being seen and heard, and that their emotions aren't being recognized, without it going to the problem-solving level, right? Because what can happen is that we're just indulging emotionality, and there's a kind of narcissistic expectation that everyone's going to indulge their emotions, and everyone's going to care about their emotions, and everyone's going to respond to them emotionally, but there's no skill development, right? So it's a balance. And again, another reason all moms go to heaven is because it's a balancing act, and you get it wrong more than you get it right. Right? So there's a balance between what I just said, the recognizing the nurturance that might be necessary emotionally to get them to the point where they can speak about what's true for them, where you can listen, where then you can do the problem solving. If it stays stuck in the listening and the emotionality, there is some skill building. It's mostly listening skill building, but there's not competence building in terms of how do I solve that problem? You know, right? And so that's why it has to go through all three stages. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. You just need to know how to track it.
Huh.
You know.
Yeah, and that's why a book or a lecture is just the beginning. You got to, and this is why moms go to heaven, is because the only way to do it is to do it and to fail, and because you've already got a history with your kids, so anything you say is probably seen as poison, right? So anything you say, so there's a uh, practice. It has, and if your kid though sees that, wait a minute, she's saying something different. This isn't like what she was saying before, and then they'll be a little more open. and then slowly engage. Again, this in the course, this goes back to that point of how do you recognize the virtues of your kids? How do you recognize their strengths and elicit them in a way that's natural and confidence building? Right? That's why that's the first step in the course that we talk about this. All right, I wanted to get this out because it's the kinds of questions I'm getting have to do with what we were just saying. You know, my kid won't get off the couch, or they won't come out of the room, and they're on that phone constantly. And every time I say something, they either get mad at me or they run out of the house, right? Or they, right? Something like that. And so we just feel like anything we say, there's a resistance. Now, one last point on that. Relationships and competence, right? And the feeling competent. One of the virtues of the video games and all this online stuff is that they feel connected and they feel at least they're somewhat competent with it. So they'll value it because they feel competent there, right? And even though the relationships might be superficial, it's all they know of relationships, right? So an additional burden on parents is how do we help them feel other values, other sorts of relationships in a culture that's just a blizzard of marketing and noxious, toxic influences. It's a real dilemma. So one of the things in the course that we talk about it, and something we're going to be doing more on a platform I'm creating, is we need to create mom community, you know, where moms can help each other with this kind of stuff. Because, you know, it takes a village to raise a kid, and all our villages are gone. So we need to create one, right? For mutual support and you know, sharing best practices. So we learn from each other, because Mark Zuckerberg and Google and stuff, they're those are formidable opponents that we have to work against. All right, I'm rambling a little bit. How's this sound, you guys?
Can I say, like, I
Yeah.
really appreciate, can you hear me? Yeah,
No,
I
yeah.
really appreciate the thing that you're saying, because I've been like reading, and I'm a parent coach myself, so I've been in this realm for many years, and I feel like everything you're saying is exactly what's missing in this field. Like, I totally agree with this overindulgence, because this is what I see, like, even with the parents that I know, is that we are too afraid to put boundaries or to push back, or like to even, you know, have these conversations, because there's so much emphasis on, like, you have to sit and listen to their feeling and all of that thing. And then without this background information, like, we get lost in the emotions, and we don't know how to build that capacity. So I'm super excited, because I really feel like this is exactly what's missing right now in the field, like in our society. And I think this is why there is so much, like you're saying, depression, withdrawal. They don't know what to do because their capacities haven't been built, they haven't been challenged. So I don't think, like, I have never heard it being put in exactly these words, which, like, this is I might have heard these concepts here and there, but not like this. So even this past, I think, couple of weeks, I've been a bit conscious about my own conversations, especially with my daughter. Actually, I feel like my issues are more with my daughter than with my son. But, you know, like, emphasizing, like, like, there's a change. I feel that, because now, instead of me being frustrated about her not wanting to do stuff or feeling not motivated, I am trying to find, we don't have this language. It doesn't exist, I feel like, outside of here. So I am super excited. And I really hope that you get to create this community, because I would be really looking forward to connecting with other parents who have similar issues.
Yeah, it's so neat, isn't it? And thank you for all that you just said. And here's another perspective. The world is in real bad shape, and our kids really need to have some skills down. to be able to succeed in the crazy world they're inheriting from my generation. So so there's that too, right? But they have so many skills, and they're free of so many prejudices that my generation you know carried. So there's a lot of good also. But just to build on the point you just made a little bit more, my take is that the misunderstanding or the inadequacy of current developmental theory has created a generation of narcissists where, wait a minute, I'm saying my emotions. How come nobody's liking me? I'm out there with what's honest. How come I'm not connected? Well, because if all that you're saying is why you're confused and angry and bitter and depressed, nobody wants to be around you. Nobody wants to listen. And so we've created this overindulgence of emotionality. So kids are really able to express what their emotions are, but not much else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge disservice to this generation. And I see it every single day in my practice, every single day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we got a long way to go, guys. But again, remember, just the effort on your part, and your kids seeing you wrestling with these ideas, that's the biggest instruction you're giving. Not that you've mastered it. It's all of life is about these questions. So we're evolving it over a lifetime. And I suppose we can wrap up with this one thought, that this is a dialogue, right? It's not an end result. We don't end up being the perfect parent or our kids being perfectly resilient, or it's a dialogue where we're always in conversation with each other about what's the next best thing, what's the next best thing. So just giving our kids that reduces the sense of shame, or the sense of, I haven't done the right thing, or if only I did it this way, because it's a conversation, right? And that all by itself strengthens our relationships, right? And it only takes one, there's studies on this, it only takes one 15-minute conversation with a supportive adult for a kid to have a resilient life. One. All right, so take comfort in that, right? And so that we don't go crazy as parents thinking, oh my God, I'm there, I messed up. All right. All right.
The guilt is real. The guilt is real.
Guilt is real, and they hand us a bag of guilt when we become parents, and and we don't have any training, right? We just we go to school, but suddenly the most important thing of our lives, we don't have any training in it. But these issues also come up with our partners, right? With our spouses. And that's an important part of the conversation also we're going to move into in the course. And if you're not in the course yet, let me know, and I can show you how to do that.
Okay, I have to go. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay, man.
We've got it's bedtime, and I have things I need to
Go
do.
your thing.
But I really hope that you do this more often. I would love to, it's nice to have this live conversation, and it was very nice to see. I don't know how to pronounce
Hong Yi.
Hani,
Hong Yi, nice to meet you too, Mia.
And it's nice to meet you too. I hope we can. I hope to see you again and connect to you again if you decide to join the course. But I'm really excited about it. It's one of the best things I've seen. So
excellent.
Yeah.
All the best. Thank you so much.
Tuck your kids in. See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
All righty. Well, Zhaoji and Hongyi, I'm so grateful that you're here. Any thoughts or questions or insights from our conversation?
Yeah, I think from the bigger picture, I think maybe a better approach is to combine the Eastern wisdom with the Western, because we're two extremes. I think Eastern, from what we're coming from, the Chinese culture, it's more of discipline with less emotional support. And then with the Western culture, I think here is emphasizing more the other, but not enough discipline. So That's how I see it right now. But we have to find a happy medium to skillfully, like wisely combine and then make it happen better for our kids.
Well said.
Well,
I agree. Yeah.
So
yeah,
how
for
do
me,
people, sorry, Hongyi.
no, it's okay.
I
Go
just
ahead.
want to ask a practical question. How do parents join your course?
Oh,
Do you
okay.
offer online or?
Yeah. Do you have a pen or some way to take
Yes, yes, I would
I'm
love
taking
to.
notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's go to myresilientteen.com.
Uh-huh.
And and if that doesn't work, because the website might not be up right now, someone's working on it. If not, I have a in fact, it might not be up because it's getting worked on. I can send you just a Google Doc that so we created a Google Doc that then the website was created from. So it looks informal, but I can send that to you and you can read up on it. And it also gives you a way to join because I think the website's not up right now.
What's
okay.
the
We
best
have time.
way to communicate with you through
So
Facebook or email or text?
I'll give you an email address. That's the easiest way to do that. Yeah, it's my name,
Okay.
John Woodall, JohnWoodallMD, John MD at myresilientteen.com. And all those words are squished together. myresilientteen.com. If you send me an email, I'll send you the link and then we'll be happy to have you join. And I want to have these kind of conversations a lot. And I want to be sure that we have I don't want to make it just something where you read stuff like a college course. I want it to be a skill building process. So you feel like you're growing in the way that can help your family.
Yes, yes.
You know, I think it's so needed for many Chinese parents in the US because of a cultural difference. They very struggle. Us don't grow up in here. The kids are born here, grow up in here. There's a lot of differences. I can bring in a lot of parents, you know, they would love to learn about this.
Well, maybe what we'll do is let's have some more of these Zoom calls, and we can go over the same kind of things. What would be helpful is if people tell me what their struggles are, what the issue is that they're looking for help with, and so that when I talk, I can form my conversation to provide some answers and some help. And then we can have a conversation like this so that we can help each other.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. I don't know how much
great.
time you have. It's already over now.
It's a little bit over, but that's okay. Go ahead. Any more?
Well, one last question. So with me and my kids, I realized that my communication style has to change. That's why I started to. I found the book of nonviolent communication, and I did change. Our relationship improved. At least it's not. I want to make him feel like I'm not his enemy. I'm his team player. I want to support him, not to, press him. Make him feel bad. So that part I'm working on, and then I think he just we sent him to some evaluations. He's diagnosed as a ADHD, mild, but so he can't. A lot of times, it's hard for him to get started and focus for a long time. That's his right now the biggest point problem issue that we have to deal with, and we're trying to look for a executive functioning coach so we can help him with schoolwork. He's capable as long as he wants to do it with the right tool. I think it'll change.
The second module of the course is all about how to do what you just said, how to help our kids value things that will help them, because if they don't value them, they won't do them, right? And so yeah, what you said is brilliant. You've learned how to communicate with him that you're on the same team. You're
Yeah,
not his dictator. You're
right.
his mother. You love him. You want the best for him. And so again, it's that teen. It's opposites. It's two opposites at the same time. They have a sense that of their own dignity, let's say, but at the same time, they don't have many skills, right?
Right, exactly.
And so as a bright teen, they may especially have a sense of dignity and right, but without the skills, they don't want to admit they don't have the skills because they experience that as shameful, right? So every time we communicate with them about something they should do, they take it as an insult or something
Yeah,
demeaning.
yeah, exactly. He said, I know, don't tell me. I know what I should do,
Yeah.
but you know,
And
you're
they
not
know,
telling me.
and they know, and that gets back to that conversation about the practical conversation. We as adults tend to go there first, but for a teen, that's the kiss of death. Because they experience it as shameful.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and so that's why the first is the Western notion of, maybe it's just a hug, or a lot of boys don't want to be hugged, but or then just listening. Tell me about what's going on, and that's a huge sign of respect when you say, "Tell me about it. I would like to know." It's respectful of them, and if they can trust that they are respected, then they will go to the next step, which is problem solving.
Mm.
Yeah. So I think it was a brilliant idea on your part to get that book, and so I'd love to learn from you about all that you've learned about your experience.
Yeah, and I like what you said. It's not about the end results. It's about how you grow together, the struggles you have, and then the improvement, the progress you make that your kids see.
Yep.
That
Yep.
you go together, and when they're finally an adult, they go back, they look back. It'll only strengthen your relationship, not the
Yes.
other way. Yeah.
I'm glad that's recorded because that's exactly right. That's
Yeah.
beautifully said. Yeah.
So, one last question. So yesterday when we were in the car and he didn't like what I said, something, and then I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry that you feel that way." What I said, that the way I said insulted him. That's what I said. That's not an insincere apology. Even if I said, "I'm sorry that you feel that way, what I said hurt you." He doesn't even like that. I mean, that just I don't know what to say when he doesn't like what I said. When I want to apologize to him, but the way I said it is not satisfied to him, and it makes him even more like it make it worse.
No, and and that happens in couples too, where the timing is just a little bit off. You might say exactly the right thing, but the other person is still very defensive, or
Yeah,
they're
just
very
very
vulnerable.
defensive.
Yeah,
Mm,
and that fight or flight response where,
mm,
okay, now this is the third module in the course where we talk about perceptions and how when someone feels inadequate or they feel vulnerable, they'll perceive all input as either something that's they need to strike out against to protect themselves, or something they need to flee from to get away from it, that fight or flight response.
mm,
So that he reacted that way tells you that it's not about what you're talking about. It's that he still feels vulnerable. So that means that it's not the time to talk about it, right? So talk about it later, right? And later, when you're laughing about something or lighthearted, you just say, "Look, I'm not a perfect mom. I'm trying to be as the best mom I can. I love you infinitely," right? So let's just have an agreement. If we're in a situation where I'm saying the wrong thing and it's hurting you, I'll just put up my hand like this, and that means, "Hey, I love you, and I will figure it out later," right?
yeah, yeah.
And right,
Good,
and
good.
so that you take the pressure off the situation.
When he's not so defensive, when I take him out for a nice dinner or buy him some nice clothes, then he'll be more acceptable.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a then you have his secret key to success. That's good.
Okay,
All
thank you.
right.
Thank you.
I would
Thank you
love,
so
yeah,
much.
I
Okay, yeah.
appreciate everything is so valuable today, and it's just the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's do everything we can to help your kids. Send me when you write me. Also write me the name of your kids so that I know who we're talking about. Okay.
Joshua. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank
Okay.
you,
Thank you.
John. It
Thank
was so
you.
nice to meet you.
You as well. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Bye-bye.
Have
Thank
a
you.
great rest of the day.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye.